Moving on, we'll talk about functionalism. This is the idea that cultural practices, beliefs, and institutions fulfill psychological and social needs. That definition comes from another textbook, Walsh and Vivianco. Okay. This idea came about in the early 20th century. Okay, and we're just trying to describe different parts of a society and their relationships with each other through an organic analogy. And that's just comparing different parts of the society to parts of a living organism or body, so they work together and each piece serves a function to keep the whole machine running smoothly. Okay? So the social institutions are organs and the individual people are the cells. And so really you're exploring the functions of different phenomena in a society. Okay, how things function, the purpose they serve, and how that relates to the functioning of the whole society. Okay. The two big names you have here are Malinowski and Radcliffe Brown. Okay. Your book separates Radcliffe Brown out and talks about him separately because structural functionalism developed kind of into its own self-serving, self-standing field. But I kind of have them combined in this lecture for you, but just keep in mind that your book separates them out, so if you don't see Radcliffe Brown in functionalism, keep reading because he shows up just a few paragraphs later with structural anthropology. So you've got Malinowski focused on biocultural or psychological functionalism. So this is basically that people have different psychological needs. Those are going to be things like reproduction, food, and shelter. And social institutions exist to meet those needs. There are also culturally derived needs as well that aren't biological. So there are 4 instrumental needs. Okay, economic, social control, education, and political organization. And each of these has their own personnel, people, norms, rules, activities, technology, and function within a society. Okay? And so there are uniform psychological responses to these needs. Really, this is focusing on individuals instead of the society as a whole. So if you want to think about it that way, that's the easiest way as an intro student to kind of think about the differences, is that Malinowski was biocultural and he's focusing on individuals. Whereas Radcliffe Brown, in the school of structural functionalism, he's focusing on social structure as a whole, as opposed to the individual. Okay? And so society is just a system of relationships, and these institutions are sets of relationships. And the goal of the institution is to maintain the society as a system and keep it running smoothly. Okay? And that the social realm of humans is a separate area of reality from biological forms. Okay? And so to explain social phenomena, you can't explain it through biocultural explanations because it's a separate system. And so you have to explain it through social roles. And so the focus wasn't on the individual there, it's on the society as a whole. Okay. And so while historical particularism focused, like the name would suggest, on the history and the individual history of the society, functionalism and structural functionalism are focusing on contemporary functioning. So what's happening now? How is the society functioning currently, as opposed to historical? Okay. Leading figures in here, you also have E. Evans Pritchard, who's a British anthropologist. Like I already said, Malinowski and Radcliffe Brown. Malinowski is the father of functionalism, and Radcliffe Brown is the father of structural functionalism. So know where those two gentlemen fall. Methodologies within functionalism are intensive fieldwork and participant observation. So keep watching these videos to find out more about what those things mean in more detail. But basically, just being involved with the community, being present, engaging in the practices that the community itself engages in. Okay, collecting a lot of information. So just a ton of cultural information. Instead of focusing on one specific thing and only collecting information there, you're collecting a lot of rich cultural data. And then, like we already said, functionalism doesn't focus on the history of the society, but really focuses on what's happening in a single point in time or over a very short period of time. Not interested in the entire history of the culture, mostly focused very locally and currently on what's going on to keep that society functioning as it currently stands.